Do the Los Angeles Kings have buyer's remorse on Pierre-Luc Dubois, and could they consider a drastic move like a buyout this summer? We'll discuss the possibilities and how it affects their cap and what makes sense coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're talking with the Los Angeles Kings and Pierre-Luc Dubois. Obviously, after the big trade with the Winnipeg Jets last year, followed by a long-term contract signing, many of us thought that might be the end of Dubois as far as all the rumors and the talk about his future might actually finally be settled and kind of stay in one place for an extended time and, hopefully be a dominant player, which we all know and seen at times and short glimpses that he could be a dominant player. But unfortunately for Dubois, no matter whether it's been in Columbus, Winnipeg, or now in LA, it does not stick around consistently. I mean, he's been a player who's shown flashes of dominance, but like I said, it just doesn't stay for very long. And are the LA Kings and GM Rob Blake having major buyer's remorse? I mean, they gave up some good pieces to the Winnipeg Jets to bring Dubois to LA, including Gabe Vilardi, who was doing really well, Alex Iafallo, who had a good season, Rasmus Kupari, and a pick. I mean, there's a lot there that they gave up, and it's only been 1 year of Dubois. So to do a buyout might seem like a drastic move. However, the reason this is being such a hot topic is the fact that he is still young enough for a couple of more weeks that you can do a buyout at 1/3 instead of 2/3. And how that works is essentially when you're under the age of 26 and you're still in your RFA years, the buyout is only 1/3 of the total money left over twice the number of years. Whereas if you're in your UFA years, you're considered, it's a 2/3 buyout, so it's twice as much money over twice the period of time. So there's a huge difference in the amount of money that they end up having to pay out, depending on if you're still considered UFA or RFA. So his birthday, which is the determining factor here, is June 24th. Now, there's a pretty good chance that the buyout window will be open before that. The buyout window is either going to open around June the 15th or 48 hours after the Stanley Cup finals are finished and the Stanley Cup is awarded. So right now we're on pace. The NHL should not be too late into June handing out the Stanley Cup. So as long as that buyout window is open before Dubois' birthday, they could execute the buyout as an RFA and do a 1/3 buyout. Now, they only have a limited time where they can do that. After that, the buyout at 2/3 as a UFA, it does not make as nearly as much sense. So, like I said, essentially, before June 24th, it makes a ton of sense to me. Now, there's a long-term commitment and implications to the cap, but if this team is frustrated with him, and to be honest, we've heard rumblings that Todd McClellan, the former head coach of the LA Kings, was extremely frustrated with this player and played a big role into I think why they were trying to go with the coaching change. They knew that relationship wasn't great, and obviously maybe a change might ignite him. Well, we didn't see that under Jim Hiller and DJ Smith after he came in as an assistant coach. Dubois still just, to me, lacks motivation. Maybe this is the wake-up call he needs. So I'll show you how the buyout would affect their cap here, but he only ended up putting up 40 points in 82 games. Not great for a player making well over $8 million. He only put up 1 point, 1 goal in the playoffs, which was 5 games. This is his third team. He seems to play well in contract years, and that's about it. Like the last couple of years in Winnipeg, he was on a short, like a 1-year deal. He actually performed better, but he's still playing for a contract. In Columbus, it wasn't consistent either until it came time that he needed a deal. Then he wanted out of Columbus. Then he wanted out of Winnipeg. Like, how many times is he going to pull this stunt? He hasn't said anything about wanting out of LA. It's almost like the opposite. The rumors and rumblings are that they kind of want it done with him. I mean, at this rate, from a cap perspective, they're expected that they probably can't bring back guys like Matt Roy and Victor Arvidsson. They might walk as UFAs because they can't really afford to re-sign them. Arthur Kaliev is looking for a new start. Certainly looks to be a frustrated player who lost a chance to play a lot and he just wants more of an opportunity, and of course they still need to address goaltending. They need some money available for that, and maybe another scoring winger ideally. I mean, down the middle they're pretty good with Byfield taking the big steps that he did. If he moves to center full time, and then you get Kopitar, and if you drop Danault to the 3C, which is where he should be anyway, especially at this stage of his career, they're really good down the middle. On the wings is where they would need some more scoring. Kevin Fiala, another big pickup of the Kings in the last couple of years, hasn't been the greatest either, but I think because of Dubois and his contract and his struggles, it's kind of overshadowed Fiala's, and you don't hear about it quite as much. But looking at the buyout, if they do this now, like I said, it's a 1/3 buyout. I'll show you the snippet here I took from capfriendly.com and how it's going to work. So in the first 7 years that would be remaining on this contract, you get savings of $6.8 million, $6.9 million, $5.9 million, $4.7 million, $4.6 million, and $5.6 million. Now, unfortunately, where it's a 7-year buyout, it means it's going to be on your cap for 14 years. So now those were the hits for the first 7, and then you'd have 7 years at 1.1. Now, if you think about it, those are some pretty big savings in that 7-year period. It's going to allow you to pivot and kind of, retool that team a little bit to make it stronger. You've had 3 consecutive years, first-round losses. They're not really moving that much further ahead. You have to think that management and ownership are maybe having some second thoughts here in how they get ahead. They went from being a non-playoff team to being a playoff team for 3 straight years, but it's gotten worse and worse and worse every year. They've lost to the Oilers 3 straight years, 7 games, 6 games, 5 games. They're getting worse instead of better, so to speak. Long term, they save a ton of money in the early going. The cap's going to rise. As the cap rises, that dead hit has become less and less of an issue. And if you don't do it before June 24th, then you have a full no-move clause kick in on July 1, and it becomes a 2/3 buyout. So if you don't do the buyout as soon as you're able to this June, the buyout's just not going to happen again for a really long time. You're pretty much stuck with him. And if you want to trade him, you're going to be at his complete mercy in where he goes. So now I would assume that the Kings couldn't very well explore a trade, because right now they don't need him to consent to it. He has a long-term contract attached. If a team is willing to take that, even if they have to retain money, that will be the way to go. So I'm sure that now that their season's done, they have some time to explore a trade. And by the time they get to the middle of June, when the buyout window could open, if they have not been able to find a trade that makes sense and another team is willing to facilitate, then I think they absolutely need to look at this and explore it. They would save a ton of money. Yes, long-term there'd be some dead money, but that amount is not huge. Think about where the cap is going to be in 7 years. You can retool and still try to have a better chance to win, while veterans like, Kopitar and Doughty are still, playing some pretty good hockey. They don't have a ton of years left. You want to try to, win one more time with them while you can. And this Dubois contract is certainly a big mistake at this point and could cause them to not really get there. Not only is it eating up a lot of salary cap money, but there's been times where he was on the 4th line. You just can't have that, right? The Kings very well might introduce a new system next year. They play the 1-3-1 a lot. I think the players are kind of tired of that and would like to play different style games. So whether that new coach is Jim Hiller on a permanent basis or somebody else, I would suspect they're going to have to implement a new system in that sense and play a different style. But could a Pierre-Luc Dubois buyout be on the horizon here for LA? I really think it's possible. If they do it quickly, they can get out of the contract before the no-move clause kicks in, which really puts on the handcuffs, so that if he doesn't rebound next year, you're completely screwed. You have another 6 years after next year at a high cap hit on a player that's not contributing the way you need him to, and he has all the leverage for a trade. You certainly don't want that. So that's why it's such a hot topic right now in the world of hockey, that this could be a real legit thing. And I've seen a lot of analysts suggest that the LA Kings absolutely need to go down this road. It would give him a chance to be a UFA. He could start fresh, go wherever he wanted. Does not necessarily have to be linked to a trade. And then we'll see. He'd probably have to do a short-term contract, which would allow him to probably be playing for a contract again. It might motivate him to get him going. It might suck for Kings fans to see him succeed somewhere else. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that, given his, where everything would be at, that he would be, playing for a more different motivation. But let me know what you think around Pierre-Luc Dubois. Does this buyout make sense? If you're the Kings, would you do it? If he becomes a UFA and they do this, where does he go? Does he finally make his way to Montreal? He was pretty open last year before the trade to the Kings that it was a dream of his to play for the Montreal Canadiens, and I think that they would have considered it. He just didn't want to give up the assets necessary to complete the trade. So we'll see. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. We'll talk about it further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.